Now, if you will read Swamiji's book, you will find that he quotes more from Bhagavad Gita than any other source. He probably knows that. But what he doesn't know, I'm pretty sure, is how many times he quotes from the Bhagavad Gita. Good. So, he's not concerned with this sort of thing. He's only a scholar would be interested in that kind of thing. But I've noticed that he quotes 22 instances of the Bhagavad Gita. There are 22 instances in his book in which he is quoting from Bhagavad Gita. And the next text he quotes from the most is the Bhagavata Purana, only 10 times. So the Bhagavad Gita is very much a text that he brings into the foreground and makes relevant to persons today. So the Bhagavad Gita, I think, is really something worth looking at, and the way that it presents the idea of divinity and the way the divine presence really, shall we say, shows itself to us. And this is where Krishna says, he connects to us in these three ways: in my oneness, in my separateness, and in my many forms facing everywhere. So again, another three, fold structure here. In my oneness is his Brahman manifestation, and Paramatma, or Purusha, the divine presence within the core of every living being. And his separateness is really Bhagavan. It's the Krishna standing before Arjuna in his separateness, and then in his many forms everywhere. Only in Hinduism do you have the concept of Ananta Rupa, of the divinity, unlimited forms. And while in Abrahamic traditions, there really is a prohibition in the Decalogue, thou shalt not create any graven images of me. No graven images. Of course, Christians found the loophole. They didn't say anything about humans. So Jesus worked out, right? So in other words, that's not a graven image. It's a human. Okay, so that worked out, but not for the Jews or the Muslims. But in Hinduism, if we were to rewrite that Decalogue statement, it would be, thou shalt create as many graven images as you possibly can. And if you've ever been to India, and most of you have, I'm sure, there are unlimited images. And I ask my students in the university, for 25 years of teaching, I always ask them, do you carry only one picture of your beloved with you? Do you only limit yourself to one picture? Or do you have unlimited pictures? And of course, the answer is obvious. You cannot depict the image of the beloved enough. So it's very much part of Hinduism to celebrate the beauty and the playfulness and the delightfulness of divinity in as many forms as possible. So the sacred image in India is very, very important. So I go into this in some detail, but I'm going to keep going here. The Bhagavad Gita, since this is something so prominent in Swamiji's book and so prominent in his own thinking, in his way of talking about even modern issues. By the way, along with quoting people like Martin Luther King, Helen Keller, I mean, again, only a Hindu could do this. This is not something that persons of other traditions could easily engage, but rather to see the divine working through everyone in so many in different ways. But a Bhagavad Gita could be a composition, a picture. It might look like this B.G. Sharma painting. And it too has its frame, its outer sort of realm, and then within which there is a picture, and then different compositional elements, and then the focal point, the innermost realm of the picture, which is, of course, this single highest point, as Krishna says, ekagra, ekagra. Krishna asks Arjuna, have you heard my teaching by focusing on the single highest point? And so this is really the whole point of the text, is this conversation. And Hinduism has promoted the idea of dialogue, not just, not preaching, not proclamation, but dialogue. From the earliest times in the Vedas, dialogue between humanity and divinity, dialogue between teacher and student in the Upanishads, early Upanishads. And then here we have it in the most famous text of Hinduism, the Bhagavad Gita. So the samvada, this sacred dialogue. Then I just wanted to take you through the idea of a yantra. And again, these three levels of truth as they're presented in a yantra. There's the outer world by the squared off area. I like the lights off. You turn the lights on. It's great. Yeah, let's go. Well, okay, I was hoping these lights off. Yeah. Turn them all off. these are pretty things. Okay, so we've got the inner world with the first outer this kind of circular design. And then we've got this innermost world with these superimposed triangles. We're having fun with the light. That's good. That's good. So we've got in the yantra, in these diagrams that are designed for meditation, for elevating consciousness, we have the outer, inner, and innermost worlds represented here, and the innermost is the seat of divinity. And by focusing on these kinds of designs, it is meant to elevate and alter one's consciousness to a transcendental level. It has a centrifugal power as well as a centripetal power. And if you can see the yantra in all these ways, you will be definitely elevated to a higher state of consciousness. And then there's a whole circumferential power. But anyway, there's a lot to say about this, which we don't have time, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of a taste of this. Because in the world of yoga, we also have these three layers. We have this idea of going from the outer world into the inner world of meditation, dhyana, the realm of dhyana, and grahana, of the samadhi. And then we have finally the anugraha of the samapatti. And this gets into some technical stuff we don't need to get into tonight, but certainly the Yoga Sutra moves one from the outer world, as Swamiji says, within, and deep within, though. It goes within, but goes deep within ultimately. And that's where one finds one's Ishta Devata. Again, only in Hinduism do you find the phrase Ishta Devata. Who do you love ultimately? That is your God. Who do you love ultimately? Rita mentioned the idea of Shraddha. Where one places one's heart is the morphological breakdown of the word Shraddha. So where you place your heart, ultimately, that is your deity. That is your Ishta Devata. Patanjali, ingeniously, doesn't mention any particular form of deity when prescribing his yoga practices. So, finally, Hinduism honors the all-embracing presence of the divine, both within and outside everyone and everything. The very grounds of all of existence, in which everyone and everything is situated. Hinduism understands that humans and all beings in this world are unduplicatable, constituent, infinitesimal parts of the divine. Thus, the metaphysical participation of the human self in the very being of the divine endows humans with the power to love the divine. While the divine embraces humans by its various manifestations, the divine waits patiently for an eternity for humans to realize this divine love from within, right? So as to be able to offer their return embrace to the divine. And then finally, love requires freedom of the heart and commitment of the will. Love cannot be coerced or forced from the outside, nor can it be manipulated or artificially generated from the inside. The human capacity to love depends upon how free one's heart is to love. And one's freedom to love may be partially eclipsed by the trappings and conditionings experienced in this world. I believe that Swamiji's book is one very valuable way to help understand how we can be less trapped by a world that can be terribly distracting from the life of the heart. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Grant, for that wonderful, wonderful exposition. Please join me in appreciating a true scholar's understanding of Now, our next speaker is one of our students who has met Radhanath Swami Maharaj just in Los Angeles. He is himself a scholar of the Gaudiya tradition, and he also is coming in as the 2016 first PhD cohort of the Mira and Ajay Shingal Center for Dharma Studies. I'm introducing to you our student Kojin Bohanek. He has a master's from the Graduate Theological Union in Buddhist Studies. He's now entering back into his own tradition with us. He's also the one who has taken on, along with his wife, Hope, our Saturday morning Kirtan, many of whose members are present. And in this beautiful satsang that we have every Saturday morning because of Kojin and Hope, there is the ability to bring students who are not familiar with the Hindu tradition into a deep contact and into the meaning of bhakti through what is essential to bhakti. Bhakti is not just a feeling, it's a way to enter another world. It's a way to enter another state of awareness and consciousness. That happens when you have imagination, through art, through music, through poetry. And Kojin brings that to the center. Hope and Kojin are also very active in environmental work, in raising ecological awareness, and in ecological activism. I am proud to introduce Kojin Bohanek.
Can somebody turn the lights on? Can you hear me now? Get out of the dark here, so nice to see you guys and see you. All right, thank you everybody for coming out tonight. It's a real pleasure and an honor to be here. Special thanks to Dr. Rita Sherma and of course Mira and Ajay Shingal. Thank you very much. As embodied souls, we're on a journey of self-discovery, both individually and collectively. It's not that's embarrassing. You got it? All right? Oh, I can hear me now. Sharita Batch coming from up here somewhere.
Okay, so as embodied souls, we're on a journey of self-discovery, both individually and collectively. This journey is as much an individual process as it is a collective movement to realize the fundamental purpose of our existence. In the journey within, His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj tells us that his book is a call to adventure, to pursue your heart's deepest calling, to discover the beauty of your true self, and appreciate life's miracles at every moment. In my own personal journey within, Providence has led me down the circuitous path of activity. In my effort to follow my highest calling through what seems like grace, I found myself in the PhD program at the Center for Dharma Studies at the Graduate Theological Union, under the tutelage and guidance of Dr. Rita Sherma, and especially thanks to the generous endowment of Mira and Ajay Shingal. The Center for Dharma Studies, like other graduate theological university or union affiliate schools, provides a unique opportunity for people like me who see academic training as an extension of their spiritual journey. It's a place where theology meets academic research, and perhaps most importantly, where my religious identity is an asset to be cultivated and not a liability to be concealed as it has been at previous institutions that I've attended. The work of His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj does not imply a self-indulgent or escapist theology. Rather, Maharaj's teachings have radical implications for the peace and harmony of our society, both interpersonally, but also in relationship to the environment, animals, and the natural world. After all, Krishna Bhakti is, above all, about the cultivation of a deep, loving relationship to a personal God. This has been demonstrated by the life work of His Holiness and the international recognition that he has received for his humanitarian efforts, such as the ISKCON Food Relief Foundation and the Bhaktivedanta Hospital. But what's most central to my research interests is the spiritual ecology or yoga of ecology practiced by the Govardhan Eco Village. The Govardhan Eco Village demonstrates the potential that placing spiritual importance on humanity's harmonious relationships with the natural world can have, and how spiritual ecology can be applied in practical terms. In addition to my own personal spiritual journey, the Center for Dharma Studies has provided me with an important opportunity to pursue our collective journey. That's not just us as a society, or us as a culture, even us as a species. I mean to say our journey in the sense of embodied souls who are born into this difficult world. A world that faces perhaps its greatest challenge yet, that of the destruction of our precious ecosystem and the environmental and natural world. In the modern age, we have a new journey, one that I see, as Srila Prabhupada saw, as being fundamentally a spiritual journey, now manifesting in the need for the conservation of our natural environment.